I found the spyware at 9:45 p.m. on a Friday night, while my wife was in the shower singing our wedding song. By 9:52, I knew my marriage was over. By 10:15, I had a plan. By midnight, the trap was set. Let me back up. I'm Ray Sullivan, 38 years old, senior cybersecurity analyst at Aegis Defense Systems. 12 years in the field, 8 years in Army intelligence before that. I make a living finding vulnerabilities in systems that protect national security. I've tracked hackers in Eastern Europe, dismantled ransomware operations, and testified in federal court about digital forensics. The point I'm making is this. I notice things. Patterns. Anomalies. The small disruptions that tell you something's wrong before you can articulate why. That Friday, my phone's battery had been draining fast. Not dramatically, maybe 15% faster than normal. Most people would blame it on a recent update, maybe switch to low power mode and forget about it. But 15% faster isn't random. It's a process running in the background. Something pulling data, transmitting, staying active when it should be sleeping. Nicole was in the bathroom. I could hear her through the door singing "At Last" by Etta James, our first dance at the wedding. She'd been sweet all evening, made my favorite dinner, asked about my day, touched my shoulder when she walked past my chair. 7 years of marriage, and lately those moments had become rare enough that I'd started noticing them again. I should have been grateful. Instead, sitting on the edge of our bed with my phone in my hand, I felt the first cold finger of suspicion trace down my spine. I pulled up the diagnostic tools I keep on my personal device. Nothing fancy, just standard monitoring software that any cybersecurity professional would have. And there it was. A hidden process called Sysmon service, running continuously, using data, accessing my microphone, my camera, my GPS, my messages. Spouse Spy Pro. I recognized the signature immediately. Commercial-grade surveillance software marketed to suspicious spouses and paranoid parents. About $200 for a lifetime license. Easy to install if you have 5 minutes alone with someone's unlocked phone. My hands didn't shake. My breathing stayed even. 12 years of military discipline teaches you to control your body even when your mind is screaming. I didn't delete the software. That would alert whoever installed it. Instead, I traced its data destination. The first one made me sick. Nicole's personal cloud storage account. The second one made me dangerous. An encrypted relay bouncing to an address I didn't recognize. Nicole came out of the bathroom with her hair wrapped in a towel, wearing the silk robe I'd bought her for Christmas. She smiled at me, that beautiful smile that had made me fall in love with her 9 years ago, and asked if I was coming to bed. In a few minutes, I said. My voice came out normal, calm. Just checking some work emails. Don't stay up too late. She kissed my forehead. Her lips were warm and soft and felt like a lie. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my home office with the door closed, and I planned. Saturday morning, I woke up next to my wife like nothing had changed. She was already stirring, reaching for her phone the way she always did, checking messages before her eyes were fully open. "I'm having brunch with Amy," she announced, stretching. "That okay?" "Of course," I smiled. "Tell her I said hi." I knew 3 things about that statement. First, Nicole didn't have a friend named Amy, at least not one she'd ever mentioned in 7 years of marriage. Second, her calendar app, which I'd started monitoring at approximately 3 a.m., showed no brunch plans. Third, wherever she was actually going, She'd been going there regularly for at least 14 months. I waited until she went to shower, then I installed my own monitoring software on her phone. Nothing as crude as Spouse Spy Pro. Mine was custom, something I'd developed for penetration testing, invisible to any commercial scanner, silent as a ghost in a graveyard. While she dried her hair and applied makeup, I built a trap. I created a fake contact in my phone. Backup server admin. Generic, boring, invisible. Then I used a burner email account to send myself a series of flirty messages. Nothing explicit, just suggestive enough to imply something was happening. "Can't stop thinking about Tuesday," one said. "Same place next week," said another. I typed responses that were carefully ambiguous. "Counting the hours," and "you know I'll be there." Then I left my phone on the kitchen counter, face up, and went to the bathroom. When I came back, the phone had moved about 2 inches to the left. Nicole was in the kitchen making coffee, her back to me. Her shoulders were tense. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She lasted until 7 p.m. We were sitting in the living room, some reality show playing on the TV that neither of us was watching. I was reading a cybersecurity journal. She was pretending to scroll through her phone while actually glaring at me every 30 seconds. "Ray." Her voice was sharp enough to cut glass. I looked up. "Yeah? We need to talk." I set down the journal. "Okay, what's on your mind?" "I know you're cheating on me." I blinked at her. Let my face show confusion, then hurt. "What? Nicole, what are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me." She was standing now, arms crossed, that beautiful face twisted into something I'd never seen before. Pure rage. "I've seen the messages. Counting the hours? Same place next week? Who is she?" I shook my head, letting my voice crack slightly. "How did you see my messages?" The question landed like a grenade. I watched her face change. Anger to surprise to fear to calculation, all in about 2 seconds. She faltered. "That's not... You're trying to change the subject." "No, I'm asking a legitimate question." I stood up slowly, keeping my voice calm and confused. "Those messages were on my phone, Nicole. Private messages. How did you see them?" "I saw them over your shoulder." "I've had my phone in my pocket all day. Try again." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I could practically see the gears turning, the desperation mounting. She'd caught herself in her own trap, and she knew it. "Fine." She sat down heavily on the couch, putting her head in her hands. "Fine. I installed something on your phone, okay? To track your messages." I was worried. "You've been so distant lately, and I needed to know." "You've been spying on me." I was worried. "For how long?" "A few weeks." 3 weeks, according to the data logs. She wasn't lying about that, at least. I let the silence stretch. Let her squirm. Then I sat down next to her and took her hand. "Nicole," I said softly, "I'm not cheating on you. That contact is a colleague, a woman I work with on server maintenance. The messages are inside jokes about our terrible break room coffee." I squeezed her hand. "But the fact that you felt you needed to spy on me, that's something we need to address. Together." She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "You're not mad?" "I'm hurt," I said. "But I love you. We'll work through this." She hugged me then, holding on tight, telling me she was sorry, she was so sorry, she'd never do anything like that again. I held her back and stared at the wall over her shoulder. I'd confirmed what I needed to know. Now I needed to find out who else was watching. Sunday was research day. I told Nicole I was going to the gym and then running some errands. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop in a strip mall 20 minutes from our house, sat in a corner booth with my laptop, and went hunting. The second data destination from the spyware had been bounced through 2 VPN relays designed to obscure its origin. Amateur hour. I had the encryption broken within 30 minutes. The destination was a Gmail account, dlinvest2019gmail.com. DL. Those initials meant something. I ran through everyone in Nicole's life, her colleagues, her friends, her family. Nothing clicked. Then I remembered. 6 months ago, at a company Christmas party for her real estate firm, Nicole had introduced me to some of her colleagues. One of them had held her hand a little too long when they shook. Derek Lawson, commercial real estate agent. Flashy watch, expensive suit, smile like a used car salesman. I searched his name. Social media showed a picture-perfect family. Beautiful wife named Vanessa, 2 kids, a house in the suburbs. His professional profile bragged about multi-million-dollar deals and industry awards. But his digital footprint told a different story. Court records showed 2 civil judgments against him. Credit monitoring services, which I accessed through methods I won't describe here, showed he was drowning in debt, nearly $200,000 across multiple creditors. I cross-referenced his phone number with Nicole's phone records. She'd been texting him between 40 and 50 times a day for over a year. The number was saved in her contacts as property updates. So, my wife was having an affair with a married real estate agent who was deep in debt and desperate for money. And they were both receiving data from spyware installed on my phone. The question was, why? A simple affair doesn't require surveillance. You sneak around, you lie, you cover your tracks. You don't need to monitor your spouse's every message and location in real time. Unless you're planning something. Something that requires knowing exactly what your target is doing at all times. I pulled up everything I could find on Derek Lawson, his wife, his business, his debts, his schedule. Then I called Tyler Webb. Tyler and I served together in Army intelligence. He's the kind of friend who would help you bury a body and never ask questions, though I want to be clear that's never been necessary. Now he runs a private security firm, mostly corporate stuff, but he keeps his skills sharp. I need your help, I said when he answered. Name it. Someone's running an op on me, my wife and her boyfriend. I need to run one back. There was a pause. Then, I'll be there in 2 hours. Don't do anything stupid until I arrive. Tyler showed up with a 6-pack of beer, a laptop bag full of equipment, and the calm efficiency of a man who'd spent a decade in hostile territory. We sat in my garage with the door closed, no phones allowed inside, and I walked him through everything. When I finished, he let out a low whistle. Brother, that's not an affair. That's an operation. I know. What's the angle? What do they want? I'm not sure yet, but I know where to start looking. Over the next 3 days working from Tyler's secure equipment, I built a complete picture of my wife's betrayal. The affair had started 14 months ago. They met at properties Derek was showing. Empty houses waiting for buyers, perfect for secret meetings. The messages between them were a roadmap of their relationship. The flirtation, the escalation, the planning. But it was the planning that made my blood run cold. Nicole and Derek weren't just sleeping together. They were strategizing. Against me. I found their research, my investment accounts, my retirement funds, the value of my house. The house I'd inherited from my grandmother, the house that was in my name alone, the house Nicole had been pushing me to add her to for 2 years. It's just paperwork, Ray. Why does it matter? Now I knew why it mattered. They were going to divorce me. But not just any divorce, a carefully orchestrated destruction. They'd build a false paper trail showing me as abusive, maybe violent. They'd fabricate evidence, manufacture witnesses, paint me as a monster. Then Nicole would file for divorce, take everything she could get her hands on, and walk off into the sunset with Derek. The spyware wasn't about catching me cheating. It was about monitoring my every move, knowing what I knew, staying one step ahead while they prepared to destroy my life. But there was more. Derek's debts weren't just inconvenient. He owed money to people who didn't file civil suits, people who solved problems in more direct ways. He had 90 days before certain payments came due, and he didn't have the cash. He needed a score, and he needed it fast. My net worth between the house and my investments was just over $1 million. To Derek Lawson, I wasn't his girlfriend's husband. I was a mark. And the worst part? I dug into Derek's history and found he'd done this before. 3 years ago, another married woman, another unsuspecting husband. That guy ended up divorced, bankrupted, and broken. Derek moved on with a payout and a new target. Nicole thought she was running away with the love of her life. She didn't know she was just another con. I almost told her. For about 10 seconds, I considered walking into the house, showing her the evidence, warning her that her Prince Charming was a predator who would use her up and throw her away. Then I remembered the fake bruises on her arms in the photos I'd found. I remembered the fabricated text messages designed to make me look abusive. I remembered the draft restraining order in her cloud storage. She wasn't a victim. She was a co-conspirator, and she'd made her choice. Now it was time to make mine. On day 10, I accessed Nicole's cloud storage and found the folder that confirmed everything. She'd labeled it insurance. Inside was a complete fabricated evidence file against me. Screenshots of angry texts I'd never sent, photoshopped to look like they'd come from my phone. A journal documenting months of emotional abuse that had never happened. Photos of bruises on her arms, either self-inflicted or painted on with makeup. A list of my legally owned firearms, framed as evidence that I was threatening and dangerous. There was even a draft restraining order application. She'd been practicing her signature on it, getting it just right. I sat in Tyler's secure room and read through every word, and I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. This wasn't just betrayal. This was attempted murder of my career, my reputation, my freedom, my life as I knew it. They were going to paint me as an abuser, file false reports, get a restraining order that would trigger a review of my security clearance. I'd lose my job, probably my career, maybe face criminal charges based on fabricated evidence. And while I was fighting to stay out of jail, Nicole would be claiming the house, the money, everything I'd worked for. The timeline showed they were planning to execute within 2 weeks. Nicole had an appointment with a divorce attorney in 10 days. They'd already contacted a domestic violence advocacy group, laying groundwork for her escape from her dangerous husband. I had a narrow window to act. Tyler looked at the evidence with me, his jaw tight. This is criminal. Fabricating abuse allegations, filing false reports, this is felony territory. I know. What do you want to do? I looked at him steadily. I want to destroy them, completely, legally. I want them to lose everything they tried to take from me, and I want them to know exactly who did it to them. Tyler nodded slowly. Then we need a lawyer, a real shark, someone who isn't afraid to draw blood. I have a name, Mitchell Kane. The Hammer? Tyler's eyebrows went up. You're not messing around. No, I'm not. Mitchell Kane's office was in a high-rise downtown, all glass and chrome and aggressive modern art. The man himself was in his 50s, silver-haired, with the eyes of a predator and a reputation for winning scorched-earth divorces that left opposing parties financially and emotionally devastated. I sat across from his desk and laid out my evidence. The spyware, the second recipient, the affair, the financial misconduct, the fabricated abuse file. All of it, documented with timestamps and metadata and chain of custody. When I finished, Kane leaned back in his chair and stared at me for a long moment. "In 20 years," he said finally, "I've never seen someone walk in this prepared. Most clients come to me crying, confused, wanting me to tell them what to do. You've already done half my job." "I don't want half your job. I want all of it. I want her to face consequences." "Criminal consequences?" "If possible." Kane nodded slowly. "Filing false police reports, fabricating evidence of abuse, surveillance without consent, these are crimes. But to make them stick, we need to let them hang themselves." "What do you mean?" "Right now you have evidence of what they're planning. But planning isn't the same as doing. If we move too early, they'll claim they were just venting, playing out worst-case scenarios, never intended to actually follow through." He leaned forward. "But if we wait, if we let them file that false report, make those false accusations, then we have them on criminal charges, not just civil ones." I considered this. That's risky. What if the police believe her? With your documentation, they won't. And even if they initially do, the truth will come out. Meanwhile, you'll have evidence of an actual crime, not just conspiracy. What about the divorce itself? Fault-based, adultery and fraud. In this state, that changes everything. Combined with the evidence that she's been embezzling from your joint accounts, that the affair was coordinated with a co-conspirator who's been receiving your private data. Kane smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "She'll be lucky to walk away with the clothes on her back." I nodded. "Do it." "There's one more thing." Kane pulled out a notepad. "Derek Lawson's wife. Does she know about the affair?" "Not yet." "She could be an asset. A coordinated strike. Both spouses filing simultaneously, presenting evidence to the same court. Would be devastating." "I've thought about that. But I don't know her. I don't know if she can keep quiet until the right moment." "Then let's find out." Kane made a note. "I'll have someone reach out. Carefully." Days 15 through 21 were about gathering ammunition. I tracked Nicole and Derek's meetings through her GPS. Vacant houses, hotel rooms, once a park where they sat in his car for 2 hours. Tyler helped with physical surveillance, photographing them from a distance, documenting times and dates that matched with Derek's calendar, which I'd accessed through his company's hilariously insecure network. I discovered Nicole had opened a secret bank account. She'd been siphoning money from our joint accounts in small amounts, $50 here, $100 there. Over 14 months, she'd skimmed nearly $8,000. She'd also been using my credit card for Derek's expenses, hotel rooms billed as work conferences, gifts billed as office supplies. She'd left a trail a mile wide. She just didn't know I could see it. Meanwhile, I dug deeper into Derek Lawson's vulnerabilities. His real estate license had complaints filed against it. Complaints that had been settled quietly with cash he probably didn't have. He'd used client escrow funds improperly at least twice, skating just inside the line of legality. And his debt situation was even worse than I'd thought. He'd borrowed money from people who didn't put their terms in writing, people who charged interest in broken bones. I also confirmed what I'd suspected. He was going to use Nicole and then discard her. His pattern was clear. Find a vulnerable married woman, seduce her, manipulate her into helping him fleece her husband, then move on to the next mark. Nicole thought she was his partner. She was just another victim he hadn't finished with yet. Part of me, a small part, felt something like pity for her. Then I remembered the photos of fake bruises and the feeling disappeared. I secured my assets. I moved important documents to a safe deposit box. I changed passwords on accounts Nicole didn't know about. I consulted with a second attorney about my house and confirmed what I already knew. She had no claim to the property I'd inherited. The house was mine, free and clear. I also prepared a go bag. Cash, documents, a change of clothes. Not because I planned to run, but because I'd learned a long time ago to always have an exit strategy. Derek was desperate and connected to dangerous people. Things could escalate in ways I couldn't predict. The wild card came on day 23, in the form of a phone call from an unknown number. "Is this Ray Sullivan?" A woman's voice, strained and careful. "Who's asking?" "My name is Vanessa Lawson. I think we need to talk. About your wife and my husband." I let out a slow breath. "Where and when?" "We met at a coffee shop 30 miles from either of our homes." Tyler sat in a car across the street, watching for anything unusual. Vanessa Lawson was already there when I arrived. A pretty woman in her late 30s, well-dressed, composed in that fragile way that told me she was holding herself together by sheer force of will. I sat down across from her. "How did you find out?" "Text messages." Her voice was flat. "Derek forgot to delete them. One from your wife saying, 'Can't wait for this to be over. You and me, finally.'" She laughed, a bitter sound with no humor in it. 14 years of marriage, 2 kids, and he forgot to delete a text message. "How long have you suspected?" "Months, maybe longer. You know how it is. You see things, but you tell yourself you're being paranoid. He's working late. He's stressed about business. She stopped, pressed her lips together. But I couldn't ignore this. So I started digging. And I found enough to know I wasn't crazy. "What did you find?" "Credit card bills for hotels I've never been to. Charges at restaurants on nights he was supposedly working. A second phone he keeps locked in his car." She met my eyes. "And messages from your wife that make it very clear what kind of business they've been conducting." I nodded slowly. "I'm sorry. I know this isn't easy." "Don't be sorry. Tell me what you know." So I told her. Not everything. I kept back the criminal elements, the fabricated evidence, the full scope of the financial conspiracy. But I told her about the affair, the duration, the meetings at empty houses. I showed her enough evidence to confirm her suspicions without revealing my complete hand. When I finished, her composure cracked. Just for a moment. Tears welled in her eyes and she blinked them back fiercely. "I want to confront them," she said. "Both of them. Together. I want to watch their faces when they realize we know everything." "Not yet." I kept my voice calm, firm. "If we do this right, we don't just catch them, we bury them. But that requires patience, coordination. Can you do that?" She stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. "What do you need me to do?" "Nothing yet. Just wait. Don't let Derek know you suspect anything. Act normal. When it's time to move, we'll move together." "How will I know when?" "I'll contact you. Soon." She took a deep breath and straightened in her seat. "Okay, I can do that." She paused. "He's gonna lose everything, isn't he?" If I have anything to say about it. A grim smile crossed her face. Good. 3 days later, Derek made a mistake. I'd been monitoring their communications, both of them, independently. Derek had noticed Vanessa acting strange, and he was getting nervous. He sent Nicole a message. Something's off, need to accelerate the timeline. Nicole pushed back. We're not ready. We need to be. Their argument escalated over the next 48 hours. Derek was panicking, pushing Nicole to file her false police report immediately, to get the divorce proceedings started before his world collapsed. Nicole was trying to slow him down, insisting they needed to stick to the plan. And then Derek did something monumentally stupid. Using passwords Nicole had stolen from my phone through the spyware, he attempted to access one of my investment accounts. He tried to initiate a transfer of $50,000 to an account in his name. What he didn't know was that the account was a honeypot. I'd set it up specifically for this purpose, a fake investment portal with tripwires that logged every access attempt, every keystroke, every IP address. The money wasn't real. The evidence was. I now had documented proof of attempted financial fraud. Not just conspiracy, not just planning, an actual crime captured in real time. This wasn't just divorce court anymore. This was criminal. Mitchell Kane reviewed the new evidence with barely concealed excitement. Unauthorized access to financial accounts, attempted wire fraud, identity theft. He spread the documents across his desk. Combined with everything else, we have enough to pursue criminal charges against both of them. Both? Nicole provided the access. She's complicit. Kane's smile was sharp. The question is, how do you want to play this? What are my options? Option 1. We strike now. File for divorce. Present the evidence. Let the criminal justice system handle the rest. Clean and efficient. And option 2? We wait. Let her file her false police report. Let them commit more crimes. Then we strike with overwhelming force. I thought about it. The risk of waiting was real. If Nicole's false allegations gained traction, even temporarily, it could damage my reputation. But the reward? If we wait, what's the upside? Filing a false police report is a felony in this state when done with intent to defraud. Combined with the identity theft, the financial fraud, the conspiracy. Kane leaned back. She won't be walking away with probation. She'll be facing real time. Do it, I said. We wait. Day 28. Nicole filed her false police report. She walked into the station with tears in her eyes and bruises painted on her arms, carrying her fabricated journal and her Photoshop text messages. She told them her husband was abusive, controlling, dangerous. She showed them my legally registered firearms and suggested I'd threatened her with them. She requested an emergency restraining order. I watched the whole thing through surveillance footage that Tyler obtained from a source I won't name. Her performance was Oscar-worthy. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed her myself. The police took her statement, documented her evidence, and opened a case. A detective named Carla Reyes was assigned to investigate. That afternoon, I walked into Mitchell Kane's office with a flash drive containing everything. It's time, I said. Day 30. The strike. 8 a.m. Mitchell Kane filed for divorce on my behalf. Fault-based, adultery, and fraud. The petition included evidence of the affair, the financial misconduct, and the fabricated abuse allegations, everything laid out in meticulous detail. 8:15 a.m. Nicole was served at her office. Not quietly, at her desk, publicly, in front of her colleagues. A process server walked into a staff meeting and handed her the papers while everyone watched. I wasn't there, but Tyler told me her face went white as chalk. 8:30 a.m. Vanessa Lawson filed for divorce from Derek. She'd been prepared and waiting, and she executed flawlessly. 9:00 a.m. Derek was served his real estate office, also publicly, also in front of colleagues. 9:30 a.m. Kane sent a detailed evidence package to the State Real Estate Licensing Board, documenting Derek's escrow irregularities and fraud. 10:00 a.m. Kane sent another evidence package to Derek's creditors, alerting them that their debtor was facing criminal charges and would soon be unable to make payments. 10:30 a.m. I filed for an emergency protective order against Nicole, documenting her illegal surveillance of my phone as harassment and stalking. By noon, both of their phones were ringing constantly. By evening, both of their worlds were burning. Nicole came to the house at 6 p.m. and found the locks had been changed. Her clothes were packed in suitcases on the front porch. Next to them was an envelope containing her mother's address and her new attorney's contact information. I watched through the security camera as she stood there, staring at the door, reality slowly sinking in. Then she started pounding on the door, screaming my name. "Ray! Ray! Open this door right now! We need to talk!" I didn't answer. I sat in my living room, in my house that I'd inherited from my grandmother, and I watched her fall apart. She tried calling my phone. I didn't answer. She tried the doorbell. I didn't answer. She kicked the door, then hurt her foot and started crying. Finally, she sent a text. "We need to talk, please." I responded with 4 words. "Through attorneys only, goodbye." Then I muted her number and poured myself a drink. Derek's collapse was faster and more spectacular. Within 48 hours of being served, his real estate license was suspended pending investigation. His brokerage firm, unwilling to be associated with the scandal, terminated his employment. His creditors, alerted to his situation, began demanding immediate payment. And then there were the other creditors, the ones who didn't file paperwork. 2 men visited Derek at his apartment. He'd already been kicked out of the house by Vanessa, and explained that his payment schedule had just been accelerated. They didn't hurt him. They didn't need to. The message was clear enough. Derek tried to call Nicole, but she was too focused on her own disaster to help. He tried to run, actually booked a flight out of state, but was stopped at the airport. Outstanding warrant related to the escrow fraud that Kane had reported. He was arrested, handcuffed, and processed like the common criminal he was. Meanwhile, Nicole's false police report was unraveling. Detective Carla Reyes had been investigating domestic violence cases for 20 years. She knew what real abuse looked like. And Nicole's story, under scrutiny, had problems. The timeline didn't match. The photos of bruises were dated after the divorce filing. Strange timing for a woman supposedly documenting ongoing abuse. The text messages had metadata anomalies that suggested manipulation. The witnesses Nicole claimed could corroborate her story turned out to have never witnessed anything. And then there was my evidence. Kane provided Detective Reyes with a comprehensive package. The spyware Nicole had installed, the conspiracy with Derek, the fabricated evidence file, the financial fraud. Reyes reviewed it, interviewed my witnesses, Tyler, colleagues, neighbors, and reached a conclusion. She called Nicole in for a follow-up interview. The questions were pointed, the inconsistencies mounted. Nicole started to crack. She didn't confess. Not yet. But she walked out of that interview knowing that her story wasn't going to hold. Derek tried to make a deal. His attorney contacted Kane with an offer. Derek would testify against Nicole. He'd confirm the affair, the conspiracy, the plan to defame me. He'd provide messages and recordings that showed Nicole was the driving force. In exchange, I wouldn't pursue criminal charges against him personally. Kane brought the offer to me. With his testimony, Nicole faces serious criminal charges, Kane said. He's essentially offering her up on a silver platter. And what does he get? He walks away, damaged, but free. I thought about it for a long moment. Part of me was tempted. Derek Lawson was a predator, but he was also a means to an end. With his testimony, Nicole's fate would be sealed. But Derek had done this before. He'd destroyed another man's life, walked away clean, and then targeted me. If I let him deal his way out of this, he'd do it again. He'd find another mark, another vulnerable woman, another family to destroy. No deal, I said. I want them both. Kane nodded slowly. Then we do this the hard way. I've got time, and I've got evidence. They don't. The reckoning came faster than expected. Detective Reyes completed her investigation and concluded that Nicole's domestic violence claims were fabricated. She forwarded her findings to the district attorney's office with a recommendation for charges. Filing a false police report, a felony given the intent and severity. Nicole was notified that she was under criminal investigation. Her divorce attorney, already uncomfortable with how the case was developing, dropped her. She had to find new representation, and quality attorneys don't exactly line up to defend clients accused of filing false reports. The divorce proceedings moved forward rapidly. Without her fabricated evidence, Nicole had nothing. The judge, who had seen Kane's documentation of the affair, the conspiracy, the fraud, was clearly skeptical of everything she said. Kane argued for a fault-based judgment, adultery, and fraud. He presented evidence of the secret bank account, the credit card misuse, the 14 months of calculated betrayal. The ruling was devastating. Nicole got nothing from the house, zero equity, zero claim. The judge noted that it was inherited property, never commingled, and that Nicole's conduct had forfeited any equitable claim she might have had. Alimony was set at a minimal amount for a limited time, just enough to avoid appeals, not enough to matter. Nicole was ordered to pay back the funds she'd embezzled from our joint accounts. $8,000 plus attorney fees. She walked out of that courtroom with nothing. Less than nothing. And she knew it was only going to get worse. Derek's criminal trial was brief and brutal. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Escrow fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit financial fraud. He'd spent his entire career skating just inside the law, and now it had all caught up with him at once. His attorney tried for a plea deal, but the prosecutor, who had taken a personal interest in the case, wasn't feeling generous. Conviction on all counts. 3 years in state prison. I sat in the back of the courtroom when the verdict was read. Derek looked back at me as they led him away in handcuffs. His face was pale, his expensive suit wrinkled, his perfectly styled hair disheveled. He mouthed something at me. I didn't catch the words, and I didn't care. Vanessa Lawson sat on the other side of the courtroom. She'd won her divorce decisively. The house, full custody, everything Derek couldn't take with him to prison. Our eyes met briefly. She nodded once. I nodded back. We never spoke again. We didn't need to. Nicole's arrest came 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized. Officers picked her up at her mother's house, where she'd been staying since losing everything. The charge was felony filing of a false police report, upgraded due to the deliberate intent and the severity of the potential consequences for me. There was also a charge of identity theft, related to her use of my information to access financial accounts. Bail was set at $15,000. Her mother had to mortgage her house to post it. I saw the mugshot when it was released. Nicole Patterson, she'd gone back to her maiden name, staring into the camera with empty eyes. No tears, no defiance. Just nothing. The woman I'd loved for 7 years, reduced to a booking photo in a county database. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret. Just a cold, quiet emptiness where our marriage used to be. 3 days later, Nicole showed up at my house. I saw her on the security camera, standing on the porch where I'd left her suitcases, looking smaller than I remembered. She rang the doorbell. I didn't answer. She knocked. I didn't answer. Finally, she spoke to the camera. "Ray." Her voice was hoarse. "Please. I know you can hear me. I need to explain." I stood in the living room, watching her on my phone screen. She looked broken. Hair unwashed, clothes rumpled, dark circles under her eyes. "I loved you," she said. "I did. I know you don't believe that, but it's true. I made mistakes. I was scared and Derek made it all sound so easy and I thought..." She stopped, wiped her eyes. "I thought we could start over. He made me believe we could have everything. And by the time I realized what he really was, I was in too deep." She waited. I didn't respond. "Please, Ray. We can work through this. I'll do whatever you want. Counseling, therapy, anything. Just give me a chance to make it right." I stared at her image on the screen for a long moment. Then I walked to the door. I didn't open it. I spoke through the intercom instead. "You didn't make mistakes," I said. "You made choices. Every single day for 14 months, you chose to betray me. You chose to spy on me. You chose to try to frame me, and you chose him. Ray. So go. Choose him now. Because you don't get to choose me anymore." I paused. "You never will again." I turned off the intercom. On the camera, I watched her face crumble. She stood there for a long time, then slowly sank to her knees on my porch, sobbing. I closed the app and put down my phone. Then I walked to the kitchen, poured myself 2 fingers of whiskey, and sat down at the table. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt finished. Like a project I'd been working on for months was finally complete, and now I could move on to other things. Outside, I heard Nicole's car eventually start and drive away. I didn't watch her go. Nicole took a plea deal to avoid trial. Reduced charges in exchange for a guilty plea. The judge sentenced her to 18 months of probation, 200 hours of community service, and mandatory counseling. She was also required to pay restitution, the remaining balance of what she'd stolen from me, plus a penalty. Her career was over. No legitimate company would hire someone with her record. Last I heard, she was working retail at a department store, living in her mother's spare bedroom, trying to rebuild a life from nothing. Derek spent 2 years in state prison before making parole. His gambling debts didn't go away while he was inside. They accrued interest. The people he owed don't forget, and they don't forgive. He got out a broken man with nothing waiting for him but trouble. Vanessa remarried. A nice guy from what I understand. Accountant. Boring, stable, faithful. Her kids are doing well. She got the happy ending she deserved. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was at a cybersecurity conference in Austin. The kind of event where everyone's wearing badges and talking about zero-day exploits and pretending the free coffee is acceptable. I was standing by a booth, half listening to a sales pitch for some new encryption software, when a woman walked up beside me. "This stuff is garbage," she said, nodding at the booth. "Their key management is a joke. Any competent attacker could break it in a weekend." I looked at her. Dark hair, sharp eyes, a smile that suggested she knew exactly how good she was and didn't need anyone else to tell her. Her badge read, "Sarah Chen, Ethical Penetration Testing." "You've tested it?" I asked. "Didn't have to. I can see the architecture from their marketing materials. They're using deprecated libraries." She shook her head. "Honestly, it's embarrassing." I found myself smiling. "Ray Sullivan, Network Security." "I know who you are." She extended her hand. "I read your paper on state-sponsored attack vectors. Solid work." "Thanks." I shook her hand. Her grip was firm. "You're Sarah Potter? I saw your presentation on social engineering defense. The case study about the hospital network?" "That's me." She grinned. "Did you like the part where the entire IT department fell for a fake software update email?" "I like the part where you made them watch themselves fall for it on video. Educational." "I thought so." We talked for an hour. Then we got dinner. Then we exchanged numbers. I took things slow. I wasn't ready to trust again. Not fully, not blindly. Sarah understood. She had her own scars, her own reasons for caution. We built something carefully, brick by brick, test by test. A year after the conference, we were sitting in my kitchen, the kitchen in my grandmother's house, the house I'd fought to keep, eating takeout and arguing about network security protocols. Normal couple stuff. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it reflexively, checking the battery percentage. 87%. "Running normally," Sarah noticed. "Still checking?" "Old habit." "You know I'd never—" "I know. And I did know. But some lessons stay with you. It's not about you. It's about me. About what happened." She nodded slowly. "Okay. But for what it's worth, if I ever wanted to spy on you, you'd never find the software." I laughed. "That's supposed to be comforting?" "It's supposed to be honest." She leaned across the table and kissed me. "I don't need to spy on you, Ray. I'm not going anywhere. Neither am I." Some people, when they're betrayed, fall apart. They collapse into bitterness, let the wound fester, become defined by what was done to them. I'd seen it happen to better men than me, but I'm Ray Sullivan. 12 years in cybersecurity. 8 years in Army intelligence. I've tracked hackers across continents and testified in federal courts. I make my living finding vulnerabilities in systems designed by the smartest people in the world. Nicole Patterson made one critical error in her calculations. She assumed I was the system she could exploit. She thought because I was quiet, because I was calm, because I didn't yell or throw things, that I was weak, that I wouldn't notice, that I wouldn't fight back. She was wrong. I'm the guy who finds the vulnerabilities. I'm the guy who builds the traps. I'm the guy you absolutely, positively do not want as an enemy. Nicole learned that lesson. So did Derek. It cost them everything. Me? I walked away with my house, my career, my reputation, and eventually, a woman who looks at me like I'm worth something. They tried to destroy me. They destroyed themselves instead. And honestly, that's the only ending this story was ever going to have. Some hunters should never have picked their prey.